How's it going once again, Super Friends? My name is Brad the DC Universe Geek, and today we will be reviewing the Power vs. Speed 4-pack from Jakks Pacific. This is not something I would usually pick up, however, I really wanted that Darkseid as he will go fantabulously in my collection. While the 3 hedgehogs can very easily be regifted to my son for Christmas to add to his Sonic the Hedgehog action figure collection. Out of the box, we see all here laid out in front of us, standing there, looking fast and furious. The furious one obviously being Darkseid, the fast one being Sonic the Hedgehog, and Silver and Shadow being somewhere in the middle. Literally, I mean, look at them, they're in the middle. The Batman Shadow figure has this neat little button in the front where if you press it, his bat emblem lights up. You can't really see it because it's not that bright. Maybe if I just zoom in a little bit more and press it again, see, it's not a very bright light. Here is a quick comparison between 2 of my Rebirth Batman figures. The one on the left is from McFarlane Toys, only I did a pop head swap. And the one on the right over here is the DC Essentials Rebirth Batman. Both of these figures are fantastic. If not, this one is a little janky because it's the DC Essentials. Now, they've done a pretty good job designing this here Sonic, this here Shadow Batman, Shadow as Batman, because they've kept some of the design features from Batman. You got that Rebirth Batman belt, and you've got the Rebirth Batman logo, which is why it shines yellow around the bat. He's got a little bit of detailing on his gloves. There's his hands there. He's got the yellow rings around his wrist here. He maintains the Rebirth Batman knee pads. Here's the boots, got another ring, and there's a lot going on here with his feet, and even on the bottom. Here's the cape. Just a rubber cape, and the rest of his shadow spikes are right there sticking out of his back. Not a bad looking figure, if I do say so, and as someone who is not a great big Sonic fan. Next up is the Sonic the Hedgehog as the Flash. He has a sculpted lightning bolt on his chest, a decent looking Flash lightning bolt belt, and all over his arms and legs, the Flash details of the suit have actually been etched into the figure and then painted. I can really see this being Sonic the Hedgehog. He also has sculpted wrist pieces here, and there's the sculpted bits around his ankles and his Flash booties with the treads on the bottom. And I like how they've dealt with the ear wings that Flash is supposed to have. They've actually put them on his ears. Something about all of these figures that I need to point out, and I had to wait because Batman's got the cape and, you know, gets in the way, is that these are actually fairly well articulated. They're all the same articulation, but the arms are really well articulated. And then you have the bicep swivel right here. He's got a bicep swivel. There's the elbows that are single jointed, and they're not bad. The hands have articulation for grabbing stuff. The heads, they're what you can expect on account of the fact that they're big and bulbous. And if you want really good articulation on a Sonic figure, then you need a really long neck. The torsos of these figures, at least for the Flash, also has articulation in it. Also for the groin down here, his legs are attached, or all of their legs really are attached by way of a ball joint. And they're fairly well articulated. You have this here thigh cut, so they can spin around. You have a pretty nice single jointed knee there. That's actually pretty good for such a skinny leg and a big foot. You've got, what do we have in the feet for each of these guys? That's what we have. Back and forth, up and down a little. I've pulled his leg off. So we can see this guy, though the articulation is a little bit limited, it's actually also not that bad for the kind of figure it is. Giant feet, giant head, giant hands. Here is a couple Sonic figures from my son's collection to compare this one to. He's more in scale with this much bigger one here compared to this old school classic one. For this one, I also thought it might be a little fun to bring in the McFarlane version of this Barry Allen Flash and the DC Icons version of the Rebirth Barry Allen Flash. And now we see the Silver the Hedgehog Green Lantern. The lantern on his chest is sculpted. It is molded into his torso like that. And we can see that Silver actually has a mask, a Green Lantern mask. And of course, Silver has a Green Lantern ring. He's also got giant green feet and spindly arms and legs just like his compadres. As well as no shortage of spikes all over his head and his body, just like the actual character Silver from Sonic the Hedgehog. Here is the only other Silver the Hedgehog action figure that exists in our house. And this one is obviously much smaller and can't smell anything because, as you can see, this one ain't got no nose. For scale comparison, I thought it would be fun to bring in my DC Essentials and my DC Icons Hal Jordan Green Lantern figures on account of the fact that, well, they just don't get enough love. So here they are. And then finally, we have Darkseid. This is actually the reason why I bought the 4-pack. I really wanted this Darkseid because I think that he is going to go really well with my DC Icons figures and my Mafex figures. I really like the scale of this really fantastic looking Darkseid. And then just for funsies, I thought for the 2 Darkseid figures I was going to bring in for scale purposes, it would be the Superpowers figure here on the left, and it would be the Beast Kingdom over there on the right. Man, that Beast Kingdom Darkseid is fan-friggin-tastic. I never did a review of it. I wonder why I never did. Great figure, by the way. Highly recommended. And in hand, this is actually really a pretty spiffy figure. This really came out of left field for me from Jakks Pacific because, I mean, look at this is really great. I wonder what they could do if they got the DC license. What could they have given us as fans and collectors had they been awarded the license for the next time coming rather than Mattel? I really hope Mattel figures are at least as good as this. That's actually a pretty good face sculpt, all things considered, since this comes in a 4-pack of figures made for kids and not really necessarily collectors. We've got all the sculpted detail of his torso here and of his mid area. There's some texturing going on here, and look at the texture of his arms too. And there's a little bit of a wash over this figure. It's not just gray, which is nice. They've got his wrist gauntlets. Here's his Darkseid booties and knee pads. Pretty frickin' sweet. Yeah, it's like they really tried to do something very cool with the character of Darkseid. Let's see how well this guy is or is not articulated. So the arms, going up into a T. That's not bad. That's about average. Then we have bicep swivels right here. Very good. We have double jointed elbows. Again, that's pretty darn good. No real complaints there. We have wrists. We have wrists that are on a swivel peg with a hinge, and they're not altogether too bad. His noodle, I can't really see any ball joint action. I'm going to call it, this is just a peg, a swivel peg. Torso has a very reasonable amount of posability and articulation. Not bad. And the waist will, if you push it, it will do 360 degrees all around. Looking down here, we can see that he does have ball joints in there. And just be prepared for this battle armor right here to get in the way of how far out you can splay those legs. Forward, he's about that, and backwards, he's about that. As we can see, he's also got thigh cuts, and those thigh cuts are going to give him a full, sweet range of motion. He's got double jointed knees, and those crunch up very nicely. I like those a lot. And then he also has a boot cut, and he has a big, rounded hinge in the foot that goes down to there, up to there, and it is also a pivot. Very nice. So now, what do I think of this action figure 4-pack? Do I think that it is good, or do I think that it is garbage? Well, honestly, if you're someone who is a Sonic the Hedgehog fan and you're a DC fan, these are just really neat mashups of the Green Lantern, the Flash, and the Batman. And if you're someone who is a DC fan just in general, maybe you bought this 2-pack like me, or you're thinking of buying this 2-pack like me, only for the Darkseid, really, then it's still going to be one you're going to want to grab, because Darkseid figures are hard to come by, and this one certainly is fantastic, and it is a unique scale in comparison to most of the other Darkseid figures that I own. I do own more, but this guy still stands out as being pretty unique. So that's it. Those are my thoughts, opinions, and ideas, observations about the Jakks Pacific Power versus Speed 4-pack. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and I will talk to you all later. Have a DC day, everybody, and take care.